All right, I think that we are live. I'm having a little bit of technical difficulties, so if you're just now seeing this or you saw something and it disappeared, that was me. Thank you all for watching. This is Travis here at the Prepared Homestead, and I'm trying to having issues here. So if you'll just bear with me. There we go. Usually I'm doing this on my computer, and usually I have a pop-up window, and I'm having a hard time getting my little pop-up window to work that has your comments in the chat. And I can't figure out how to make it come back up. It's like it just disappeared. I don't know. Anyways, we're gonna go with it. Um, I've got I pulled it up on my phone, so I can see your guys' chat on my phone. It's just a little inconvenient, but hey, we will work with it. Yes, doing a live stream. My wife is not here. She's just not feeling great. She's not sick or anything. She's tired. You know, it's been a busy week, and it's just she's tired, and so she didn't want to do the live stream with me. So I guess we'll forgive her for that, right? If you see me looking down, I'm looking at the comments. All right. So it's not that I'm ignoring you. I'm actually paying attention to you. Um, I'm not really good at these live streams at keeping up on the comments. So my wife, when she does them with me, she's really good at staying on top of comments. So if I kind of forget about you guys over in the comment section, please don't be offended by that. I don't plan on being on here too long tonight. There's just some things that I wanted to cover. And then, I don't know, I might shift gears completely tonight and go off on a little bit of rant. I'm not really sure yet. Not sure if I feel like a rant or not. If anyone asks what I'm drinking, this is chicory coffee. Yep. The real stuff. It's not chicory with other stuff. It's good quality organic chicory and fresh cow's milk. Okay. Hey, thanks, Tuba. I appreciate that. She. It's not that she's sick or anything. She's just really tired. We've had a busy week. Thank you for mentioning her. Someone says a volume up. Am I too quiet? Is that better? Can you hear me now? And she's not sick. She's just tired, and she just decided not to do it tonight. All right. I want to jump in to some of the things that I want to cover, and then we'll talk about other stuff. I do have a few local announcements for you local folks, and we'll talk about that too. So let me go ahead and switch screens here, at least pull this one up. And obviously, you probably have been at least a little bit paying attention to the markets, the currencies, the commodities. Nothing's doing good right now except the dollar. Here's from Zero Hedge: global gloom. World markets plunge to start the week as global currency crash hits max pain. I'll show you some charts if you haven't seen them for some of the currencies, not all of them, but it's interesting. It seems to be that there's been a rapid shift in what people are saying, the words that they're using. There for a long time it was like, oh, we're not in a recession. We might be in a technical recession, but we're not really in a recession. Now they're saying global recession. They're saying worse than global recession. And so it's just here's something. The European there we go. European outlook is darkening. This is the European Central Bank. The head of the European Central Bank is saying that it does not look good. It's really bad, and that's coming from I guess you could say a pretty mainstream news. So it's definitely the message has shifted. Okay. And this isn't surprising for us. I don't want a lot of you saying, are you just now getting that? No. We've known this for a long time. Why I'm pointing this out is because you and I have been prepared or are getting prepared, right? I mean, we're at least awake. Some of you may not have, you know, tons and tons of food stocked away or whatever, but you're working towards it. And if nothing else, you're working on the mental preparedness. You're at least awake. But the vast majority of people out there are not. They're just completely droned, okay? Just minds, glazed over. They don't see what's going on. But the more and more of this kind of talk in the news, the more those people are going to wake up and become afraid. And then we have to deal with potential, panic buying, violence, that kind of thing. So that's why this kind of stuff, when they start coming out, even though it's much later than what we all knew was going to happen, but at least they're coming out and they're saying this kind of stuff. We have to. It's something that we have to pay attention to. Just kind of glancing over at the chat because. As I've said, I'm really bad about this. I get going and then I forget about the chat, and I apologize. Please don't take it personal. A couple other things that aren't related necessarily to this, but I just wanted to show you. Of course, they're both California stuff. I guess they're the same thing. Never mind. Yeah, here we go. California will ban all new gas-fueled furnaces and heaters by 2030 to cut ozone levels. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because California typically kind of sets that liberal standard. So I'm not saying that it's necessarily going to come to your state, but this is, just like they're trying to ban wood fireplaces. They want to ban wood burning to heat your home, and now they're going to ban gas. So I'm not a genius, but I don't consider myself a dumb person either. What are the other ways to heat your home? I mean, wood heat, gas heat, and then electric heat. That's really the only three ways, that the common ways. I mean, they're certainly not going to let you heat it with coal if they're, cutting out wood and they're cutting out gas. They want everyone to go to electric. Now, maybe California, but, California has some cold areas, okay? Not all of California is 70 degrees all the time. So they want you to go to electric, and then they're wanting to switch the grid to renewable energy solar power. And maybe some of you don't quite understand this, but some of you off-grid people, or the ones that are wanting to give it off-grid, you'll get this. If you can imagine how much strain and drain that's going to be on a solar-powered, wind-powered, renewable energy-powered grid if everyone switches to electric heat. You think it's bad trying to charge all of these, electric vehicles. You switch everyone over to electric heat and then change the grid to renewable energy, which is quote unquote renewable energy. It's not going to work. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that one I'm correct on. Switch over here to a couple of things. These are some, this is the British pound. Check this out. The British pound just basically, it did what they call a flash crash, I guess. It bottomed out there. So there's the British pound. Here's the dollar. It just goes up out of nowhere. I mean, just shoots up like a rocket. Now, I know that in the immediate, you'd say, oh, well, that's good. That helps bring, it increases the value of the dollar, it increases the spending power of the currency that I have in my wallet. And maybe that'll help bring down some inflation. It's possible, okay? It's possible, but I wouldn't bet on it. But there's some bad things going on. And again, I'm not an economist, so don't take my word for it. The bad thing is that when the dollar shoots up like this, and also we're seeing treasury bills shoot up, interest rates are shooting up. What that means is that the debt that the United States has, that we the people, our government has gone into $30 trillion in debt. The only way that they really support that debt is they sell off these treasury bills. People buy them as an investment. Well, when the dollar goes up and interest rates go up, that means the rate on those treasury bills go up. So you can earn more interest, which is good for you if you have invested your money into T-bills. It's really bad for the government because they have to pay on that interest. And so all of these trillions of dollars and T-bills out there, that means that they're having to, the amount of money that the government's paying on it is quite exorbitant right now, and it's going to just keep getting worse as long as this problem keeps happening, which is another way to crash our economy. All right, I thought this was interesting. Let me try to zoom this one in so you can see a little bit better. Income needed to afford a house. Okay, this is 2022 versus 2020. So in 2 years, in Austin, Texas, seems to be the biggest jump. In Austin, Texas, 2 years ago, you needed to earn about $76,000 a year to buy a house, and now it's $160,000 a year. You go down here. Let's look at this. In Miami, Florida, 2 years ago, 57,000, now 117,000. Oklahoma City, 31,000 to 55,000. Washington D.C., we've got 84,000 to 139,000. So we're seeing a big jump, almost double in some of these, but we're seeing a big jump in just 2 years. This is another way that they are robbing us commoners, that they are consuming they're consuming our wealth. Okay, they're cutting out the middle class. I've said this so many times, it's till I'm blue in the face here. What we're going through over the last few years has been and will continue to be the greatest transfer of wealth that we've probably ever seen in history. So there's just another example of it. Let me Ned Davis Research, which is a big research organization, think tank group, now sees that there's a 98% chance of global recession. See that? Oh, here we go. National debt, $30.899 trillion. This is another thing to point out. And we're still just kind of focusing on economy, markets, and stuff. Again, not a market guy. In 2008. When we went through the crash and all that kind of stuff, the recession of 2008, the Federal Reserve basically got us out of that, by printing lots of money, by raising interest rates, printing money, and it kind of worked. I mean, it's led us to where we're at now. But the only reason that it did kind of work is because we didn't have this level of debt. We had I think $8 trillion, $8 trillion in debt in 2007, 2008. We have way, way, way more debt. Our debt to GDP ratio is, I haven't looked at it in a while, but it's been hovering around 125, 130%, which is astronomical. And most economists say when we get into those levels, that debt to GDP ratio of that number, then we're entering an economic collapse. And so my point is that I don't think that the Federal Reserve and their solutions are going to be very successful. And a big part is because we have this $31 trillion in debt. It's not going to work the same way. The same solutions aren't going to work. Here's the dollar. Let me zoom this one in again for you also so you can see it better. All right, so what this chart is, this is showing different crashes or different times in the past. This is going all the way back to around 1990 when the dollar index peaked, and it was always right when there was some type of crash of some sort, economic recession, the dot-com, the tech bubble. So you can see that. And then the question is are we nearing the top just before a major collapse? So that's something interesting chart there to look at. Russia, this is their stock exchange. It's kind of collapsing too, and I think that's all I have for the pretty little pictures. Let me see if that was it. Yes, that is it. All right, so let's get this screen off. So that's the real brief, and there's a whole lot more. Okay, there's a whole lot more. I didn't really take the time to do an in-depth digging of all the garbage that's going on, especially when it comes to money, economy, that kind of stuff. But that's kind of a brief overview. Hold on a second. Sorry, this is good stuff. I know if you laugh, it's interesting because chicory used to be considered the poor man's coffee. And now if you try to buy chicory, it's usually more expensive, but you can grow it or you can pick it wild. It's not very difficult to do. It has a really mild flavor to it. I don't drink it in replacement of coffee. Of course, we still have coffee, but it's a nice treat. I like it. It's a little different. It's just got a little bit milder taste to it, and it's also caffeine free. So if you want to drink it at night and not have coffee keep you up, this is a possibility. Hear my slurping. All right, I'm gonna look at the chat room for just a minute and see if anyone's causing too many problems. The last time we had a live stream, some people said that people were someone's saying, okay. Says with YouTube shadow banning prepper channels, we use simulcast on Rumble too. So here's the deal with Rumble. I do upload to Rumble, but I don't upload everything to Rumble. And the reason is, let me explain it, because it's a reason. We live out in the sticks, okay? And we don't have the greatest internet out here. It's okay. I mean, I'm doing a live stream. I don't know how well it's coming through. I think it's coming through a little choppy. But most of the reason why I'm able to do this now is because I've got some software that's kind of compressing everything so that it makes it live stream better. But we have limited internet, limited speed, limited data usage, that kind of stuff. And it's a lot of time to upload lots of videos. And so if I'm uploading 2 or 3 videos a day to YouTube, and then I take those same videos and upload 2 or 3 videos a day to Rumble, it's a lot. So I'll be honest with you, I don't upload everything to Rumble, but I do upload kind of the more what I consider important videos to Rumble. But I am working on it. And yes, as YouTube gets worse, you'll see me shift more over to Rumble, or maybe even a few other places. People are saying the live stream's coming through well, so that's good. I did added an update to my software just a few days ago that was supposed to help make it run smoother, compress it, whatever. I'm not a tech guy. I stopped learning all the intricate details of computer at DOS 5, so that tells you how old I am and how far back. Someone asked, do I listen to InfoWars? Not on a daily basis, but I do occasionally. It is somewhere that I do listen to occasionally, but it's not like where I get all my information and stuff from. But if there's something going on, sometimes I'll switch over there and just see what they're saying at InfoWars. Let's see. Yeah, someone said no, Rivka. That's right. My wife, Rivka, she usually sits in with me, and she's not sick. She's just tired, and I am too. I'll be honest with you. Part of me didn't want to do this because we were actually talking today that it feels like probably for the last at least 6 weeks, we have just been running. We've had guests at our home several times. We've gone to other people's homes. We've gone to people's homes for just a visit. We've gone for, to help with different projects that they're doing, offer our assistance. It's been draining. And then all the stuff that we're doing here. I mean, we've got a homestead that we're trying to build still. It's not done by any means. And then, of course, the channel. Hey, Pinball is in the house. Pinball Preparedness. Brother, thank you for... We're honored by your appearance. So we're both really tired, and so she just decided to set this one out. But there's nothing wrong. It's just that she just was tired. So gold. Someone says gold is taking a dive. I am not an expert on this kind of stuff at all. But as the dollar increases, the DXY, the dollar value increases, which it's all fake. It's all being propped up by the billionaires and all that kind of stuff. It makes it the buying power. The buying power of the dollar increases. So, it takes less dollars to purchase gold or silver. But that's not the only reason, at least I don't believe. I mean, you could look into the conspiracies behind it, but I think that there was something I should have had the news article ready, but I don't. There was one I was looking at that they were saying that the COMEX, these depositories that have all this silver, that it's just like disappearing. People are buying it up in mass amounts, and they don't know why. They don't know where it's going, is what they were saying. And of course, a lot of that, like I've said on here before, is people like you and I, that are awake and aware. But when you start to look at the actual numbers of the amount of average citizens that own silver, I think that one of the numbers is something like, if you own 50 or more ounces of silver, you're considered in the upper 1% of silver, owners. That's not that means that there's not a whole lot of people that actually own silver. So when we're talking about, tons and tons of silver and gold that's being, purchased or moved out of these depositories, I would almost bet you it's not, the majority of it is not average folks like you and I. These are billionaires, these are governments, banks, stuff like that. They're taking their money, they're hiding it in their bunkers, they're whatever, they're moving it. Even just a year or two ago, I believe, it was since the whole health crisis, I can't remember when, but I did a video on this about the repatriation. I never can say that word right. Repatriating gold. And so what that means is a lot of these countries, especially these smaller countries, they may not have the depositories that are secure enough to hold their gold. They may not have good enough military and police to secure their gold. And so what they will do is their gold is being stored here in the United States, or maybe in Switzerland, or places where there's a lot more security. The Federal Reserve Bank, their vaults or different vaults. In the last couple of years, there's been this massive movement of countries bringing their gold home, basically, and that's what that means. They're repatriating. I can't say it. I don't know why that word. I have a hard problem with that one. But anyways, meaning that they're calling up and saying, hey, yeah, we know that you have our gold, but we want it back home now, because possession is 9/10 of the law. We all know that these little countries all over the place, not all of them are little. Some of them are bigger countries. They may have, billions and billions of dollars in gold here in the United States in a certain, bank or whatever. And it means nothing to them, basically, because if it all comes crashing down and they can't get that gold home, or if whatever bank or organization just doesn't let it go, or it just comes up missing. So we're seeing a lot of countries over the last year or two, smack the mic, seeing a lot of countries over the last year or two bringing their gold home. And so I think that trend is also continuing with a lot of these billionaires and other, very wealthy people. I wouldn't be surprised. We've all heard the stories, and they're not rumors. I believe that they're very legitimate, of the how these billionaires and stuff are they're building bunkers everywhere. There's all kinds of stuff in the news. I've talked about it to you before, of how there's these billionaires are building their bunkers. Well, who knows? I mean, I'm just making an assumption, but if I was a billionaire and I had a really high quality bunker built, because that's what they do. It's not like something you and I would have built. I would definitely make sure I had a vault there. And if I had a bunch of gold and silver, hundreds of miles away or whatever in some depository, and then the world came to an end, the odds of me getting to that and getting it are probably pretty slim. So I'm going to withdraw all that and put it in my vault in my bunkers. So that's what I suspect is going on with a lot of that. People are talking about junk silver, or just silver in general, and I did talk about this the other day, but I might as well, I'll go ahead and mention it again. And this is my disclaimer, so listen up carefully. This is my opinion, okay? I am not an expert in any way, shape, or form of gold, silver, metals, investments, anything like that, okay? But this is just my opinion. Because people are asking me more and more still, what should we put our money in gold and silver? Here's the thing. If you're wanting to get yourself prepared because of everything that's happening, you need to stock up on food. You need to make sure you have a water source and redundancies to that. You need to make sure you have a way to treat medical, ailments, wounds, illnesses, things like that. You need to be able to reproduce stuff, produce your own food, and to preserve your own food. And those things are all extremely important. Have some basic tools and knowledge of how to do things on a simpler manner, okay? Then on top of that, you should have a way to protect and defend all those things. Now, when you're going down the road of doing that, I'm not saying you have to have all that done, but as you're going down the road doing that, and you get to the point and you're like, wow, I've got to starting to get a little bit of food stocked up. Maybe I got 3 months, maybe I got 6 months, whatever it is. Then maybe here and there put some money in silver and gold, physical silver and gold. And the reason is because it can be a good alternative. It's a good way to kind of hold on to your wealth a little bit. If that's something that you want to do, my opinion is the best way to do that is in U.S. currency, okay? Not necessarily the bars and just the bullion. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, except that when you put your money into U.S. currency that is silver, then it's still legal current tender, okay? In fact, it's called constitutional money for a reason, because it's the only money that our Constitution actually recognizes is gold and silver minted by the U.S. Mint. And while we don't really mint, well, we make silver eagles, that's the big round dollars, but we don't really mint real silver coins for circulation anymore, so you can purchase pre-1964 silver, and a lot of times people refer to that as junk silver. This is silver that's been in circulation. It's worn down a little bit, the edges, it's got scuffs and stuff like that. It has no collector value because it's not pristine. Thank you to Doctor's Homestead. Appreciate that. But you don't care if it's pristine because you're not wanting it as a collector. Say a quarter that may be worth $4 or whatever it is. If it's a collectible coin, it may be worth $10, $20, $50, but what you're paying for is the collector value of that. You don't care about that right now. All you're caring about is just the actual precious metal value. And so if you get junk silver, which is circulated U.S. coin, then you're basically just paying for the silver value, and then there's a little markup. All silver, there's a little markup. Everybody hates it. It's just something you have to deal with. The junk silver has some of the least amount. I do get silver eagles sometimes. I've got some here, but I don't want to get them out. But there's a higher markup on those. Whereas with junk silver circulated U.S. coin, the markup isn't nearly as bad. So 1964 and back on your dollars, half dollars, quarters, and dimes. And those are 90% silver. So 90% silver on those coins from 1964 and back. You can also, there's other things, like your, old silver jewelry, silver flatware, things like that. I mean, it's silver. So that's some things to do. You can also look at like Canadian money. They have some the silver maple, Australian money. Someone said that here. So, and that's a good thing to remember, that you can also get Canadian and Australian money. And there many other countries have silver. But in the United States, if you stick with U.S. currency silver, then it's still currency. It's still legal money here in the United States. All right, I'm gonna skim through the comments real quick. So I need to have some music like do 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 do. All right. Our 40% silver is worth getting, if you can get them for a good price, like the Eisenhower dollars or the nickels, the silver nickels. I have a few. I just don't put a ton in that. But, if you figure it out and you give them for a good price, then I wouldn't turn them down. Another thing that I've bought recently also, and so the junk stuff, I had a bag laying out here and I wasn't going to show you, but just give me a second and I'll pull some out. Where is it? So I don't have them here though. For those of you that don't know what I'm talking about, most of you do. So these are half dollars, just as an example. Like here's a Ben Franklin half. Now you can see it's not in the best condition. It's not in collectible condition. Here's a Kennedy, 1964 Kennedy. These are 90% silver. But they're circulated, but they're not in terrible shape. Now you can also occasionally you can find places selling what's called cull silver, and cull silver is still United States money. It's silver coins, but it's in a lot worse shape than this. So the coins are bent. They may have a big gouge in them. They may have a hole drilled through them. They may have been setting in some, bottom of a metal container, and there's rust all over them and all that kind of stuff. And those, you can usually get those a little bit, the spot price or the whatever they charge, it's usually a little bit less. So that's also a way to get some silver. And again, it's going to look pretty nasty and rough, but in the end, it's still silver. You're paying for the weight in silver, right? So that's another way, but not everyone has that kind of stuff. I'm only doing this because I know that most of you know what this stuff is, but some of you don't, so I'm just trying to be nice. This is a silver eagle. This is the only real silver money that's being made in the United States today. This is 1 ounce of pure silver. This isn't 90%. This is the real deal. When I buy these, I buy just the regular ones. You can get them that they're proof and they're all encapsulated and they're all fancy and stuff, and you pay more for that, and you're just paying for extra stuff. I don't care about that. I just want the silver. So I buy just the cheapest ones I can find. Usually, and I haven't checked in the last, several days, but, $33, $35, something like that, is what you pay for one of those. And it is pure silver. All right. Someone asked about my singing. I was carrying a tune. I used to sing. In church, was in a group, traveled around when I was younger. So yeah, I used to sing, but I'm not great. Someone said silver is silver. That's the point that I'm trying to get to. If you're just wanting silver to have silver, any kind of silver works. If you're wanting silver that you think at some point in the future, you might have to use it as actual currency, meaning you give this for bread or whatever. I mean, hopefully you're not giving a whole silver dollar for a loaf of bread, but maybe. If that's what you're preparing for, and so this is why I do more than just one type of silver. That's why I stock up on these, because everyone knows what this is. I mean, it's not that hard to determine that this is a United States, silver coin, and even though a lot of the younger people may not know that, most people do, and they'll figure it out real fast when we get to that point. And so it's pretty obvious that this is legitimate. I mean, could they be faked? Sure they could, but these that are worn and everything, it's a little harder to fake that wear on them. So I think, my personal opinion, again, it's just my opinion, means nothing, is that for just, using regular for trade, commerce, stuff like that, that something like this is going to be easier than, a block of silver. My silver bars aren't here, so I just have the U.S. coin out, so sorry. I think it'll be easier to trade with. Some people won't care, but some people will. So there's that. All right, back to the comment section. Someone says silver round. Yeah, silver rounds. Now that's another one. I do have a silver round. Let's see. Here's a silver round. Silver rounds look just like coins, okay? But they're not, because they're just, some people don't know what a silver round is. I always have to remember that, because I've done this kind of stuff my whole life. Man, this thing is taped up. Good gracious. So it looks just like a coin, right? All fancy, but it's a round, because this is not minted by any government. And if you really look at it, you can see the quality and everything of it is not nearly as good as a U.S. Coin. And so all this is this is just a quarter ounce of pure silver. Um, and so this can be used too as a coin. But being that it doesn't have the U.S. mint on it, the U.S. government's all their stuff on it is not as recognizable. Could you counterfeit this? Could this be some kind of silver plating? Of course, there's ways to test that, but is everybody going to do that? Is everyone going to have the tools to test it? I don't know. But yeah, usually the price of just a round is less because it's just a chunk of silver that's been quickly stamped. So a 1 ounce silver round is going to be less than a 1 ounce silver eagle. Same amount of silver, but one just has I don't know, more faith in it, or more recognizable, whatever. I keep hitting the microphone, and I apologize for that. I don't know how it's coming through on your end. If it sounds like I'm smacking things around, I'm super unprofessional. Look into the comments. Let's see if there was any questions or anything. Well, I don't see anything that's jumping out at me. It looks like most of the people are kind of having conversations amongst themselves. Someone the 33, I don't know. These things are usually somewhere between $30 and $35. So, I mean, I could look it up here real quick. Well, in fact, I do see it. Looks like right now these are $33.95. I don't necessarily think that the 33 means anything because they change all the time. I mean, I've paid into the 20s for them. I've paid up into the upper 30s for it. Or not, I've not paid up. I've seen them in the like $35 range or whatever. That's not a set price on these, the $33.95. Just a few days ago, they were like $35, and now they're down to $33.95. They do fluctuate based on the price of silver. It's not a set price. Someone asked about copper. I have a little bit of copper, and I have been thinking about more copper. Copper is something. In fact, what I've been thinking about is getting, like smelting my own copper down and getting my own, not molds. I can't think of what they're called, and making my own. Which you can do that. You can make your own bars and stuff. Because copper, I mean, you can get copper wiring and all that kind of stuff. I think it's okay to have some copper. I wouldn't put a ton into copper, because in the end, the average person, here's how I think. Let me just stop for a second. What I do when I do this over the years, I try to think, okay, if we were in a situation, and think of these movies and stuff that you've seen, these apocalyptic movies, I can't even think of ones other than the cliche Mad Max and stuff. And you see these marketplace, these open markets, right, where people are bringing their goods and they're selling and trading and stuff. The average person right now in the United States, they get it that silver has value. They may not understand it that much. I mean, you've all seen the videos where someone's like, I got this is $1, but I can't use it in the soda machine. Can I exchange it for $1, paper dollar? And they won't take it, even though this is worth more than one paper dollar. It says on the back that it's $1. Okay, it says right there $1. I don't know if you can see it. See there, $1. But it's definitely worth more than that. So most people, they don't understand the true value in silver, but they understand that silver has value. Whereas with copper, the average person, I don't know if they really get it that copper has value. Copper is a cheap penny. It's copper so cheap, that's what they make a penny out of. Well, they don't. They haven't made a penny out of copper in like 40 years. But that's what most people think. And so I worry that putting too much into copper, that some people just won't see the value in it. I don't know. Maybe I'm totally wrong on that. And if I am, I'll own it. But that's just kind of my opinion. What redundancy do you use on a well? All right, so I had a conversation just this week with someone about this. So there's some options. If the only water source that you have on your property is a well, there are hand pumps that you can get. Depending on the depth of your well, they do make deep well hand pumps. These deep well hand pumps don't go super, super deep. So if you've got a well that's 600 foot deep and your water, level is at, say, 400 foot, you're probably out of luck. But if your water level's at 100 or 150 foot, it's very possible that you can get a hand pump for it. Now, they're not super cheap, okay? $1,500 to $2,000, usually, from what I've seen. So that's an option. There are also ways to run your well off of solar power. There's actually someone that I know, this was the conversation I was having this week, there's someone that I know that they have a well, and they put in a smaller well pump in it. So the pump is strong enough to pump the water up out of the well, but it's not really strong enough to create lots of pressure and push that water all over the place. And that's what they wanted. They wanted a smaller well pump because it was less amperage and it was easier and cheaper to run on solar. And then they built a small water tower. The well is at a high point on their property. They built a small water tower there, like a 5,000 gallon tower tank, and put it up 10 foot off the ground. So it's 10 foot off the ground on an elevation, and then they pipe it downhill to the rest of their property, and the gravity itself creates the pressure in the line. So the well pump, even though it's a smaller well pump, it's certainly enough to get it up out of the ground into that tank, which is all that's needed, and it runs off of solar. So that's a possibility, or just getting enough solar power to run it. So those are the options, kind of, for a well. And then there's other options, rainwater collection. That's an option. If you have a pond, or if you're able to dig a pond or some type of water retention tank of some sort, a pool, above ground pool is a way to have for backup water. If you have a creek on your property or spring, there are ways to pump that water up or put it into some type of cistern, a holding tank. So there are other options. I would not just have one option with water. I think water is one of those critical things because, number one, you have to have it. I can go weeks without eating food. We all can. I mean, we're going to be hungry. We're not going to have tons of energy, but most everyone can go weeks without eating food. You can only go 3 or 4 days without water. And water also is, in some ways, more complicated to keep it clean. Okay, food, if you're unsure about it, you just cook the heck out of it. With water, you may or may not be able to purify it really well. And as things get worse, and as grids might go down and cause sewage water to back up, and people aren't going to be as sanitary because maybe services like trash aren't going to be running, so they're just dumping their trash wherever, or they don't care. We could see pollution levels really rise substantially in water, so the water is going to be way more polluted. So water, I think, is something that's very, very critical. You should have no less than 2 to 3 redundancies, backups on water. A backup can be simply just having a good, decent water filter, so that you run it through that water filter. There's, you need to have ways to purify it, and then you need to have ways to capture it. Collecting it into 55-gallon drums, off of your roof, down the down pipe into some drums. There are ways to collect water, or ways to harvest it. There are ways to, hold it. And I would encourage everyone to look into that, because I think water is going to be something that's pretty critical. And there's certain areas right now already here in the United States that they're having some serious, water shortage issues. So certainly, work on your water. Berkey waters are still great, but still boil water. Exactly. Okay, I love Berkeys, and I love the Alexa Pure. We have one of each, okay? And I have done all kinds of tests that I'm capable of doing, and I can't tell any different between either of them. The only difference is the Alexa Pure is a little bit cheaper. The filters are a little bit cheaper because you only have to have one type of filter. With the Berkey, you need 2 types of filters. But other than that, they're virtually the same. I mean, there's only slight variations. But I would still not take nasty, gross water and run it through a Berkey and then drink it. I don't care. I don't have that much faith in it, in any of them. I'm going to boil that water first. Would I take water out of my creek behind the house, the ones that you see in the video, and run it through Berkey and drink it? Yeah, but I drink water out of that creek already, because I know that it's spring fed, and where I'm standing, I'm just a couple 300 feet or so from the spring head. It's not on my property, but there's nothing in between me and that spring head to really pollute it much. But that's different. When water starts getting gross, yeah, you need to do some double and triple ways of keeping it clean, because water's going to get dirty. Oh, Sarge is in there telling his jokes. I love his comments. Thanks, Sarge. You always put a smile on my face with your comments. All right. I think I'm probably going to start wrapping up this video. This live stream, I only planned on being on here maybe an hour or so. And I think I'm just about hitting that hour mark. Something totally different than what we've been talking about. And I'll go into this more. Another friend of mine, he's becoming much of a mentor to me. And I enjoy talking with him. And he's older and wiser, and we've been having a lot of conversations on, why are we in the state that we're in? Why is everything happening the way it is? And one of the reasons that the conclusions that we come to is, and I'm not throwing all this blame on one certain group of people, but I think there's definitely some blame to go. And that's there's not a lot of real men left in this world. And I know I'm taking this in a completely different direction from the rest of this live stream, but it's just something to think about. I don't want to go deep into it. Folks, there has been an attack on real men, on masculinity, for a long time. I can remember when I was a child, and I was born in the 70s, grew up in the 80s. I can remember as a child, my mother would not allow me to watch certain TV programs, because in the program would basically make the dad or the guy of the house look like an idiot or weak or incompetent or something like that. And my mother would not allow me to watch that. And she said, "No, you're not watching that." She goes, they're making the man look bad, and I don't want you to see that. You don't need to be watching that kind of stuff. All they're doing is it's attacking the husband or the man, and it's making him look like an idiot. This has gone far beyond that now. Now the we've learned in the last decade or so that there's toxic masculinity, and then it went from there being toxic masculinity to all masculinity is toxic. And then now we're at a place that, we don't need masculinity, because, you can be whatever gender or non-existing gender you want and prance around and do all this kind of stuff. I firmly believe that one of the problems in the initial attacks is destroying manhood and masculinity and the heads of the home and the heads of our communities and stuff, because once they got that out of the way, then it was like kind of open season for the family and for women and for children, where they could attack all that, and which is what we're seeing now. You see these guys dress up as women. It's nothing more than blackface against women, and no one cares anymore. No one cares. Because it's there's no standards, there's no rules, there's no morality, and anything that's lascivious and disgusting and just flat out bad and evil is okay. That's the world that we live in. And we're at that point because there aren't enough men, real men, masculine men, to stand up. And so I want to put out a call to the men that are listening. And to the women too, because many of you women have men. You're married, okay? So you encourage them. And I know that most of you do. But to the men out there listening, it's time for us to stand up. It's time for us to hear that call. And that call is that there's a huge vacuum of masculinity, of manhood in this world today. And I'm not telling everyone to arm up and go march in the streets or go, attack something. That's not what I'm saying. I mean, there may come a point that we need men armed to do the things that armed men have to do sometimes. Right now, we need men standing up in their homes, standing up in their communities, standing up in their neighborhoods and their families, because there's a huge lack of that, massive lack of that. And I believe that is one of the biggest reasons why we're seeing the problems that we are here today in America. I certainly don't have this nailed down. I'm certainly not the perfect masculine man and have it all and the best husband in the world and the best father in the world. That's not true. It's not true at all. I struggle daily with different things that I have in my life that I need to work on because I'm imperfect. I make mistakes all the time, but we all do. We need to learn what real manhood is. And I assure you, everything that you've learned on TV and the movies of what a real man is, if you're watching these YouTube videos and be a real man, you probably got it wrong. Because most of them, at least that I have seen, are all wrong, okay? And it's not because I'm so smart that I know what the right way is. It's because it's all perverted, twisted truth of what manhood is. Folks, first of all, if you want to know what it takes to be a real man, you need to pick this book up and you need to read it more often. Okay, you want to know what a real man is supposed to be like? This is what you need to be finding. This is your guidebook. Okay, if you watching Marvel movies and old John Wayne movies, and I love John Wayne movies, and I'm not into Marvel movies, but I love John Wayne movies. But if that's what you're watching to figure out how to be a man, you're doing it wrong. I'm sorry. Pick up this book. You can find them anywhere. You can even get them for free. Okay, you can get them for free. And that's the first place you need to turn to learn how to be a man. And folks, we live in a very disgusting and falling apart world, and it's probably not going to get any better anytime too soon. Okay, that's the harsh reality. We have to deal with that. We have to suck it up and accept that. It doesn't mean that we roll over and play dead and we give up. It means that we man up and we strengthen ourselves, like I say, every day, mentally, physically, and spiritually, because that's what it's going to take to overcome this. That's what it's going to take to survive and endure to the end. And so men, and I'm not, again, I'm not excluding you ladies out there. This is a message just to men. It's time to man up. It's time to hear that call to be a man, okay? That call to be a leader in your home. When your children start, are picking up this stuff online and on their Snapchats and their whatever it does, other stuff, sometimes it's time to be a man and the father and the head of your home and say, we're not doing that here. We're cutting that off. When your kids are dressing in strange and inappropriate ways, it's time to be a man in the home and stop it. These are the things that, that wall of protection around your home that we talk about sometimes in a preparedness physical way. You need to be being the leader of that in a physical way, in a spiritual way too. Because there is attacks on the home, on your children, on your marriage, on you, on your wife, on a daily basis. All these temptations out there, that's what those are. That's attacks. And whether you like it or not, men, it's your job. It's your job to be the head, and it's your job to be the protector. Not just a protector against bad guys kicking in the door and stealing stuff, but a protector from the evil of this world also. That's what your job is. And folks, it's time that some real men in the world stand up, because there's been a real dry spell for quite a while of them. All right, I'm going to get off here. I'm a little tired, and I'm just going to go check on my wife. She's probably asleep. She was really tired when I went to, I was getting this ready to do this live stream, and I went to go see if she had made it up her mind if she was gonna come help, come be on the live stream with me. She'd fallen off asleep, but she was back awake before I came out here. She may be asleep now, and I don't blame her. Folks, thanks for watching. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep prepping, keep praying, keep training. Keep your powder dry, because things are changing, and this may be a pretty crazy week, especially when it comes to the economy. And be ready for that. Don't be too shocked. Get your houses in order. Prepare yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually.